Hey, Rebecca, welcome to Soul Sessions.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to have you on the show for you to discuss your journey, and we're going to get right into it. Tell the audience who you are, who is Rebecca Shapiro, and what do you do?
It's a very complicated question.
That's okay.
Um, so who am I and what do I do? So I'm constantly trying to figure out who I am. So that's like a little bit of a loaded question.
Okay.
It's a life's journey. Um, but what I do is a little bit of an easier question. Um, I am a communications and marketing consultant, and I do creative direction as well. Um, and about probably close to 2 years ago, I went off. I started doing private work as opposed to being an employee. And when I did that, I kind of made a conscious effort to do projects that would make a difference in the world and inspire. Um, and so when I work with clients, it's usually either mental health related or education related.
Okay.
And I have a very specific way that I work. And
So can I ask you something? Why did you decide to make that jump from like being a full-time employee, working for a company that like you got a salary every week or every 2 weeks? Why did you decide to take that plunge? Like that's a risky move. Why did you
it
do that?
was. And
Yeah.
it wasn't an easy decision. I actually liked where I was working, and I have a lot of admiration for. I was working for a nonprofit that ran like a shul and a school in different Oregon and different projects. Um, so it wasn't an easy decision because I really felt like I was making a difference in the community, and I still am a little bit, you know, I mean, not involved as an employee, but now I get to volunteer when I
Wonderful.
have time.
Right.
But honestly, I felt like I had a lot more to give, and I felt like um, rather than just being the person that was doing what was needed, I wanted to be the person that push boundaries, move mountains, and really kind of made an
Wow.
impact on something a little bit bigger. And also there was some, obviously some monetary
Sure.
decisions. I have kids in yeshiva, and
Mhm.
and I really didn't have time to do consulting anymore on the side.
Mhm.
So um,
You decided to make it a full-time thing as opposed
yeah,
to making it as
because
a side hustle.
when you're on salary, you're basically you like I put my heart and soul into everything that I do. So I really did not have time to do anything on the side. So this
And
really
that
freed
was
me
hurting
up.
you. That was
Yeah,
hurting you. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, and my family.
for
Like
sure.
now I have the flexibility. My office is at home, and I have the flexibility to be there when my kids need me, and I could take them to appointments, and I could be a little bit more proactive with their needs.
For sure, for sure. But
Yeah.
like in the beginning, when someone takes that risk of like leaving a a stable, comfy position where you know you're getting money every single week, like it's very predictable to go out there and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm not gonna have that like cushion. I'm not gonna have that money every week. You have to actually go out there and work for it. So like I'm assuming in the beginning, it wasn't like money
It
was
was
just like
scary.
flowing to you. So like did you
No,
have that fear?
I think it took me, I think, first of all, I think that I was once listening to a shir. I think it was by Rabbi Lezer Brody that said,
Laser beams.
yeah, and he said something like really, really smart that, you're going to have what you need, and you have to be able to channel when you're partnering with God, you're in a much better situation, and this really actually gave me the opportunity um, to partner with God, and and now I rely on Hashem
Wow.
more in my day to day, and I actually feel a lot. I feel like just for that alone, it's more. It was
Wow.
worth it, but it was
So, of
hard to get to that point. But
course,
I think it took about 3 months for me um,
that's a big leap.
to become, you know, to get to the place where I wasn't scared.
Right. But you needed to have that fear in the first place in order to move you, because I feel like if you didn't have that fear, this wouldn't mean anything to you. You know, like,
No, no, it was. I really think that sometimes we get stuck and we're afraid to make big changes in our lives because we don't believe that it could be better.
mm-hmm. Love
Um,
that.
I just want to reiterate, I actually really did like my job and I love the people that I worked with, and I actually do miss them a lot. But financially and like I'm better off right now, and also just as far as work-life balance.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, what can you say to especially Jewish mothers, okay, who have not only like the groceries and the regular bills that normal people have to take care of, but we also have the astounding, crazy bill of yeshiva. Yeshiva tuition is it's like the joke amongst like us Orthodox Jews that like, what's the best birth
Mhm.
control? Yeshiva tuition. You
Yeah.
know, I myself have really struggled with sending my kids to yeshiva and not sending them, because it is a big sacrifice. Like for me and my husband to send our children to yeshiva, we have to sacrifice a lot of different areas in our life in order for our children to get a Jewish education.
Mhm.
Um, vacations and like all of that, like have to be lessons. But what would you advise to your typical Jewish woman who has to balance work, children, husband, friends, family, groceries, everything, and like stay afloat? Like
Okay.
not survive, but like more than survive. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So this is what I'm gonna. So I'm so glad you asked that question, because I just had a very inspiring period of time. So my husband just finished his first Siyum Hashas.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he attempted to do it 14 years ago, but he just finished. He It didn't work out, and he's a very busy person. He commutes for work at least an hour each way. He's so busy, and he wakes up at 4:30 in the morning to go to a chabura. Yeah, and he actually the person who runs the chabura, he takes over for him because he travels a lot. So whenever he's away, he travels. So we just made a siyum hashas. We actually went to the siyum in Israel, and I felt like it was really, and I felt that there was something missing when we were in Israel celebrating the siyum hashas, and I don't know if most people would feel that way, because like, oh, it's beautiful, so many people are there and you're celebrating together and it's such a special moment. But I really felt like Torah is a family celebration. And I felt, and I spoke to our Rebbe, and he said, make a beautiful, it should feel like, as special as a bar mitzvah or a wedding, and you should make a siyum when you come back.
Wow.
So and also I felt that our kids should see that women so are part of the Torah learning. And so I actually spoke, even though I generally don't public speak. And in the Dvar Torah that I gave, I said it was the parsha of the week was Ve'era, and I spoke about the importance of building assets. So Paro, so the parsha talked about Paro, a new Paro coming. So whether or not it was the Paro that changed, or whether that it was Paro that a new Paro rose to power, it was, everybody knew what Yosef brought to the community, right? Everybody knew. So it wasn't really, I'm trying to remember what I said, but it wasn't really but the idea was that when somebody builds assets with somebody, that those assets should be enough to carry them through. And when we see, I read when we see that generations kind of losing touch with Torah values. So it's kind of like when we talk about Chos Avos. So it's kind of like having a wealthy grandparent that leaves money for his in a trust fund for grandchildren, right? So that money could go missing really, really, really fast.
Oh yeah, right.
But when each of the grandchildren make their own investments and they value that money and they nurture it and they invest it, so that will continue that money for generations, because their children will see. So Torah is like that. So if we show to our children that chinuch is our highest priority and that we value their investment, and they see that we value our investment, then the Chos Avos kind of like has that same impact.
As just for the people who don't understand what Chos Avos is, it's
sorry.
Of our forefathers, right?
Yeah.
Right. Wow, so, that's a beautiful way to look at it.
It was better written than I just said
No,
but
that's just a beautiful. No,
I wrote it like as a build-up, but I think that that's really the idea. So when we think about investing in our children's education, there's very few things that are like necessities in life, but that is one of them. And so I think that whatever it takes.
So prioritizing, basically.
Yeah, if your child needs therapy, if your child needs whatever your children need to thrive in this world and to be able to give, to grow and to
become whole people and kind, decent human beings.
Yeah, I think that investing in yeshivas and investing in the right kinds of yeshivas and spending the time to make sure
I mean, not for everyone. There are people who think they do invest in yeshiva and then they have a terrible experience, because also maybe.
No, I said the right yeshiva.
Yes, the right yeshiva.
So we actually send our kids away for yeshiva.
Wow.
We send them to Chicago, and we live in Canada.
I did not know.
Because it was very important for us to pick the right yeshiva. I don't think that just any yeshiva is. I think part of investing in your children is knowing where the right place is, and it's not a one size fits all, and just kind of. I think like it's easier for me because I'm a small town. I have that kind of mindset where it's okay to send your kids out of town, and I don't really care.
For my mindset, where like everybody is all together all the time, kids are around. Yeah, we have very different communities.
Yeah. So for me, it was, I don't need to go. I don't. For
you
me,
don't have an attachment, meaning like they don't.
Well, stigma doesn't affect me, I don't think, as much as it affects other people, because I don't really care.
Yeah. Wow.
Like I'm not in the heart of.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about stigma, and you were talking about mental health before.
Mhm.
Okay, so one of the other things that you do, which is a very, very big part of your life, not only are you, a marketing and communications consultant, and you do curriculum development, from what I understand, and you also do some creative direction. You are also in charge, or you created this organization called Project Proactive. So,
Mhm.
can you tell us a little bit about what Project Proactive is about, how you guys got started, and what is its mission?
Sure.
Why is it important? Yeah.
So I can't take credit for starting it. Shoshana Mailer started it so she was working for an organization that's not Jewish called Hope for the Day, and they do proactive suicide prevention and education in Chicago. Um, and it's actually a phenomenal organization. And she was working with them in programming, and what she realized was that at that time there really wasn't a lot of that type of education in the Jewish community,
Right.
and it was she kind of started this before all the influencers got into sharing about their life stories, and you know so she really was a pioneer in kind of pushing boundaries in mental health. And
Well,
I'm fortunate that she included me in this because she got really busy with work and school, and she needed help. And at first she asked me if I would, she didn't want to drop the ball on it, so she said, could you just do it for me? Like it wasn't
wow.
even a thought that it was going to be what it is now. It was just kind of, we're running an Instagram account,
Yeah,
and
I
we
remember what
really
you
just want to educate the community, break stigmas, um, about all things mental health. And then it kind of, and then I said, I'm not going to take it over, but let's work together and we'll build it into something. So um, so this was actually hashgacha, like it was right after I left my job that she asked me. Um,
Wow.
and she so we kind of, we were brainstorming like what is needed in the community, because the last thing we wanted to do was reinvent any wheels. So our objective was really to find out what's out there, to bring awareness of the organizations that already do great work in the community, and kind of, because of our marketing background, we could kind of help bring awareness of that and kind of pool the community resources together, and to educate the community about things that people don't like to talk about,
Hmm.
and kind of make it normal
Or
and
maybe not
easy.
like to, not that they don't like to talk about it, they also don't like to listen to it because it maybe triggers them or it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, um, it's it's a tough pill to swallow that we're not perfect, right? As a community, we're not perfect, but like by kind of pushing the community to embrace that, yeah, we have issues. Everyone has issues. I may not have the same issues as you do, um, but I definitely have, like, everyone has issues.
Right.
Literally, like I can't imagine that there's anyone in this world, unless they really have severe issues, that will say that they don't have issues.
I mean, I do know, yeah, I do know a lot of people that pose as if their life is perfect and they don't have issues. Um,
No,
and it,
those people are the ones that do have issues. Everybody has issues.
but like you
People who
can't
pretend
ever
they don't.
imagine those people having issues, and then when you find out that they do have issues, you're like, what?
But that's what really,
Oh,
but that's what makes it hurt more, because then people feel lonely and like nobody gets me, and there's something wrong with me because you know I'm overwhelmed and everyone else seems to have it together and I don't, and everyone else seems to be getting shidduchs really quickly, but why am I not? And why it are everyone else seems to have kids that behave properly, but like my kids are all over the place. Everyone seems to be able to manage making Shabbos food, and I can't even like get dressed in the morning, you know, like, and I think it makes it worse when we feel like other people don't have those issues, but like,
Right.
but everyone has those issues. Everyone at
Right.
some point in their life will have either will either have a mental illness or be affected by somebody close to them who has a mental illness.
You know, when people throw the word mental illness around, and I've mentioned in the past to certain friends of mine, like, oh, like mental illness, this, they're like, no, that's not mental illness. Like, come on. Like the term mental illness is so like stigmatized
Mm-hmm.
that people are like, no, that's just for like crazy people. Like mental illness, what? They're gonna go to the nut hospital? Like what is it called? The
Psych
crazy,
ward.
yeah, like the crazy hospital. I'm like, no, like people have mental illness. Like, so can you just talk about why there is such a stigma around mental illness and what covers mental illness? Like, is anxiety a mental illness?
So it is. It's just more of a widely accepted mental illness. So if anyone wants to really, I'm not going to go into like all the details, but Rachel Tuffman did our first live with
Yeah.
us, and it's on YouTube. It's called Mental Health versus Mental Illness.
Mm-hmm.
So and she basically kind of um, gives an overview of what mental health is, and what's the difference between mental health and mental illness. And you know, and people who have mental illnesses can live very normal, functional lives, even more so than somebody who has mental health issues that they don't deal with.
Can you just give me one example of what is of a mental illness versus a mental health issue and how
Okay, so
like,
mental illness would be something that is completely that's debilitating and hampers your ability to function in your normal activities, right?
so like obsessive compulsive disorder, is that a mental
Yes.
illness? It's not
Yes.
a physical illness, it's a mental illness.
Okay, so I'm so glad that you asked that,
Okay.
because one of the things that is so important for us to educate the community about is that there really is no difference between a physical illness and a mental illness. The Our brains are another organ in our body, right? So I
Mhm.
guess they seem different because that's what gives us our personality, and you know, and it's kind of like the feeder for all the rest of our body. But I was talking to a uh, neurobiology researcher who actually has her name is Sandra Whittleson, and she's been studying a slice of Albert Einstein's brain for her entire career, which is very cool.
That's very cool.
So, and I was telling her about Project Proactive, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're doing this, because really, the it we've all known this, like the academic world has known that there's no difference between mental illness and physical illness for a very long time. It's just kind of coming to the forefront in the community, right?
Mhm.
So which she's like, you know, you have um you notice some pains in
Stomach or
your stomach, so you're going to go and you're going to figure out what that is. If you know, maybe you have an ulcer or this or so whatever, you're going to do what it takes to make it better. So when our brains kind of get sick, we should be willing to do whatever it takes, the same way that we would do, like if we had like kidney failure, we're gonna get our kidneys back to good health, right? it
right.
just it's just we've created this a lot of stigma and shame around mental illness, but it's really literally the same thing
Why?
as
Why have we created this shame?
I I mean,
Why do
I
you
can't speak for anybody, but what I used to also feel very, I used to also feel like maybe, oh, you don't associate with them, they're like wacko, or, like, but when you really, I think a lot of it comes from the media, from movies, and just kind of like misunderstanding people, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and there's we've picked up a lot of bad habits as a community,
So
and
you think it's from the media that we're getting this shame and stigma about it?
well, I don't know if it's just the media, but
I feel like
I
now
just
the media is like very progressive and, open to that.
no, right. But now we're also shifting. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like as a Jewish community, we tend to we tend to adapt, but very slowly. Um,
Yeah.
and
Certain Jewish communities even slower. Like
um,
like
but
I look at your community, like I look at the Ashkenazi community and I see your community like 20 years ahead in terms of like advancement and ideas and destigmatizing things like 20 years ahead.
yeah,
So
I mean,
for the
I don't
Muslim
really
community.
know, but I think the more we learn, the more we're able to grow and adapt. Like, even, even within halacha, right? So we learn certain halachos that evolve over time because we have new technologies, right? So we have to relearn halacha based on the circumstances that we're given today. So whereas, like at the time of that the Gemara was codified, uh, there was no LED lights, right? And
Right.
there was no um, Teslas and cell phones, and so we have to kind of reevaluate the halachos, and we saw that when we were on the plane on one of the nights of Hanukkah, and we had to look into, oh, how do we light Hanukkah candles? We were looking for a flashlight that had like the old fashioned kind of flashlight, because LED was a totally different ball game. Like, things
Right. Right.
change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're at Sarah Chana Radcliffe said, we're at the stage in time that are we have we're the beneficiaries of a lot of research on brain health, and we have the ability today, because of all of the research that's been done over the past few decades, to actually heal the brain and mental illness, where we didn't have that information before. We had a lot of intergenerational trauma the last few generations, and throughout our history, but we're at this pivotal point in history where we have so much knowledge about the brain.
Right. But I think that sometimes the people who need therapy or who are on the brinks of like mental health issues and like kind of in between mental health issues and mental illness, because I feel like if you don't take care of a mental health issue, it can become a mental
Mm-hmm.
illness. But I think those people are not even aware of it. Like if you are a self-aware person and you realize how your brain is working, why you're thinking certain thoughts, like why you're doing certain things, then you are, I think, in my opinion, you're a mentally healthy person.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
that's what I said before, with that there are people with mental illnesses who are much more mentally healthy than people who don't have a mental illness and
mhm,
just suffer with mental health.
Mm.
Rachel Talkman said that during her live.
Okay, that's
I
very
know
interesting.
people who have bipolar and who have like one person that we interviewed was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. There and if you listen to our live with Coach Meish, who talked about addiction,
Mm-hmm.
so these people are the most mentally healthy people I know.
Right.
They are really, like, yes, they suffer with mental health, but they own their mental illnesses or their addictions or whatever it is that they suffer with, and they are on it, and they're making the world a better place. People
For
who
sure.
suffer with mental health, they could ignore it and
I feel like
they
a
could
lot of
become.
those people, sorry I'm interrupting you, but like I feel like I'm gonna forget. I feel like a lot of those people who do have they're suffering with a mental illness in the beginning when they were just having the mental health issues, they were ignoring the signs. They were like in denial, you know?
That's
And
what Project Proactive is all about.
awesome. Awesome.
Because we're all going to experience it at some point, mental health, mental illness. So let's
Mm-hmm.
educate ourselves,
Yeah.
look for the signs and take care of what needs to be taken care of.
So
Learn
speaking of
tools.
right. So speaking of that, can you tell us like what contributes to a poor mental health? Like how can someone prevent themselves from like deteriorating mentally?
So honestly, um, I'm not a mental health professional,
Yeah. I mean, we
so
have that.
I don't want to presume that I necessarily know. I mean, I definitely try to pool the best of the best and the resources. I think there have been a bunch of lives that we've done that have given insight into that. There's lots of honestly, I think that it really starts with just like with education
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
read books, watch the lives, um, read, follow our blogs have tons of really incredible stuff by different talented therapists and people who have been through things. We have a new blogger that's starting soon who talks about her recovery from opioid addiction.
Yeah.
And it's just about kind of like, I think it's really just being aware
Being aware.
and knowing and just knowing what's out there. Like
Right.
like how could you prevent
Right.
anything, right? Like there's and you just
So part of what contributes to good mental health, would you say, is not just like self-care goals? Like I just feel like, maybe there's this misconception that someone who has good mental health is someone who doesn't have stress, someone who like takes care of themselves, who exercises, who has a well-balanced diet, like socializes, all these things, when really what also contributes to good mental health is awareness, education, learning, because it's about your brain. Like you might be getting a manicure and pedicure every week, but is your brain
yeah, it's not about avoiding. I think that people think that
being
self-care is about avoiding. I think it's really about when you notice something, like if you notice that you're ruminating about something, or if you notice that you're screaming more, or like your temper, that you're, a little bit more snappy. So get curious.
Mhm.
Like, why am I doing that? Esther Goldstein, we interviewed Esther Goldstein last night. She talked about transference and counter-transference. Like, we're going to post
Yeah,
that.
I'm not aware of those terms, but I'm going to read
So, when I lose it at my husband, is it really about my husband? Like, or is it about I'm not feeling so great about myself? Like, just tune into yourself and kind of what's going on with me, like, and I think it's important to just kind of be goal oriented. But actually, I heard, so we were at a Shabbos meal this week, and I found this so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So how people try to take on resolutions and then they're doomed to fail.
Yeah.
So I know I have perfectionist tendencies. So if I say, oh, I'm gonna I'm just gonna be healthy and I'm going to eat only healthy food and I'm gonna exercise 10 times a day or whatever. That's like a little bit extreme. So as soon as I don't, everything's finished. Like, I'm a perfectionist. Like, it has to be, it's all or nothing, black and white. I'm a recovering black and white thinker, recovering perfectionist.
Okay, awesome.
So I heard, so one of our friends was telling us about a podcast that he listened to, that it was about, rather than making a resolution, you could set yourself a theme of the year or like a theme of the week. So
or word of the year. I've seen that. Like, people say, like, what's your word for the year?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
I like the theme because I've been thinking about that every day. So I was, because if my theme is health, let's say, so I'm gonna make a conscious effort to, okay, so maybe I'm gonna have a piece of cake, but I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going, but that's not going to overturn everything else, because I also worked out this morning, and I also ate salad and
also health is not just physical, meaning like your mental health, emotional health,
right. But this is part of the mental health, and physical health is the same. So when I start beating myself up about anything, whether it's like food or whether it's, oh, I yelled at my kid today, I'm such a bad mother, like, that could put me in
mom guilt.
But if we have a theme of, let's say,
intention,
yeah, or even just like forgiveness, right?
I like that.
Like, so I'm going to forgive myself because I'm human. Like, why would I have expectations of myself that I don't expect from any other people?
Love that. Love that. So, Rebecca, how do you want to take Project Proactive to the next level?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. So
now you guys are making waves. Tell us how you want to.
Okay, so this is really exciting. We are finally officially a nonprofit.
Wow, Mazal Tov. That's awesome.
Yes, I'm very excited. In fact, Shoshana just sponsored our live last night, just in celebration. And actually, I didn't even realize, but it's been a year of Mental Health Mondays. Yeah, like, I didn't even realize, so I should have like mentioned it. But so we actually have a business plan, and we have a few goals that we want to try to develop. We really want to get community feedback on where they see value in our growth, but really the way that that we formulated our business plan was that we kind of looked at what the barriers to accessing mental health supports is in the Jewish community. So we like analyzed that, and you know, a lot of there's a lot of great organizations out there,
Yeah.
but because of, you know, financial limitations, you know, they don't have good marketing efforts. So really we want to be able to use our talents to highlight other organizations that are doing great work in the mental health field and providing like and kind of like pool everybody together
Wow.
and make a splash in for
For the greater
other.
good.
Sorry.
It's all for the greater good, and it's not like
Yeah, so it's just annoying when people, like, I feel like organizations start and they're trying to reinvent wheels, but what we're trying to do is um is bring awareness of what's already out there. So that's one of our goals. Another one of our goals is to continue to develop publications that are mental health friendly and proactive. So we published for Breshit, and we're working on Shemot right now.
wow. And which
Bite-sized
publication?
Torah. So we published a book called Bite-sized Torah.
Yes, I saw that.
So it's like very short ideas that you could share at your Shabbat table. And they're not necessarily mental health focused, but it's subtly
Yes.
putting proactive messages that will kind of shift the way we talk about things. We
So that
develop.
it's not just Project Proactive is not just limited to Instagram space or the internet, but you guys are trying to get into homes and synagogues and organizations, and that's
Oh,
wonderful.
this is another thing. So
Yeah.
Shoshana is mental health first aid certified to teach. So she's trying to push going into high schools and
That's extremely
even possibly elementary schools, communities, to train people in mental health first aid. So there's like a little bit more awareness of that.
for sure.
Um,
So
we're
important.
yeah. So I think so that's another thing. We are building. Our goal is to build a platform also of um, I don't want to give too many details
Yeah, of
yet,
course.
not because like
Yeah.
it's private, but just because I just want to work out all the details before.
All right, that's fine.
But we're really trying to build our resource database in a way that's more palatable to the way that people think today. Because I think a lot of people, when they ask for recommendations of like books and videos, it's really, really hard for people to focus for an hour long,
Yeah.
or to like read a book. Like a lot of people don't love reading, so we're
Right.
really trying to figure out ways where we can infuse the information in short, bite-sized pieces, in different ways. So
Wonderful.
yeah, so we're gonna start our fundraising efforts, which I never really thought that I would wanted to take it that way. I kind of wanted this to be,
Right.
you know, it's going to remain altruistic forever, but we do need, like,
To take it to the next level, you need
to
to,
take it to the next level, we're going to need some funds.
for
So
sure.
we're going to start
Well,
pushing that a little bit more, and getting just, we want to take it in ways that the community feels is helpful. So
for sure.
uh, we're going to start asking around and polling and so
Hatzlacha. Bezrat Hashem, you should have lots of success
Thank
in all
you.
that you do, because you guys are really bringing goodness to the community, the Jewish community. We really, really need more awareness and education about our mental health. This is a topic that is not spoken about enough. And I don't even think enough, like barely spoken about, especially in, our communities.
There's been a
Um,
shift.
what?
There's definitely a shift.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned, I'm gonna ask you one last question, and I want to focus on the word thing. You mentioned the word proactive a lot, and the name of the organization is called Project Proactive. So, to you, Rebecca, what does it mean to live with proactiveness?
Um,
Sorry to put you on the spot.
no, honestly, I think it's really just um, self-awareness, education, um, being able to uh, nip things in the bud when you see that something could potentially become an issue, learn about ways to support yourself or your loved one in a way that it doesn't become a bigger issue.
Right, right.
And I think also just um, recognizing that the world does change. And I actually wrote an article for Nashim magazine a while back about our
I,
resistance to
I love
change.
that. I love that.
And I think that really focused a lot on it was called Changing Tides, and
Yes, yeah,
our reluctance to kind of move forward and be progressive because we're a little bit afraid of we're afraid to leave our bubbles, and we're afraid that we're not strong enough, but we're strong enough. And throughout history, throughout the Torah, we've really tried so hard to stay insular and to protect ourselves from the outside world. And it's really about inoculation versus isolation. And we talked about, but before the live, we talked about the vaccination, like the flu that's going around, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
yeah, so vaccines, so fine, they may not, but they might not know what strain to, but we know that if we
right.
provide our children and ourselves with the right education and the right values, and we infuse ourselves with like wholeness and goodness and authenticity and like all of those like buzzwords,
I love it.
if we're able to not be afraid but to act with intention and conviction, then we really could grow with the world rather than be afraid of the world.
Oh, love that. Can you repeat that last line again? That was beautiful.
Grow with the world instead of be afraid of the world.
Growing with the world.
Yeah,
Wow.
we have to grow with the world because we can't stop it. Like we can't freeze. I mean, I know a lot of different sects of Judaism like to freeze time at a certain, um,
Yeah,
like you could walk through Israel and you can see, okay, they froze in Poland
yeah,
in
yeah.
in in the early 1900s, and they froze in Russia, and then like you see
Right.
different sects freezing at a certain point in time and trying with all their might to preserve the essence of that idealistic place that they lived. But
Yeah,
and it is beautiful, but the world changes, and we have to be able to take those values and invest them. It's back to that investment. We have to take it. We can't deny that the world is changing. We have to take those values that the world that you know, that the Rebbe, whatever your Rebbe, and, you know, those values, and we have to invest those values, and we need
Love
to
it.
invest them so that in this generation it could bear fruits, because we're not living in last generation.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Rebecca. Rebecca, please tell the listeners and the audience who's watching where they can find you and the work that you're doing.
Okay, so you can, if you go on on our website, www.jproactive.com, there are links to whatever social media platforms that we're on.
jproactive.com.
Yeah, and our blog is on there, and our YouTube videos and everything is on our website. And from there, you could get to our Instagram account. My personal profile on Instagram is r.shapiro, but I don't really have, like, I just post random stuff, so it's not like really that exciting. But
Exciting. I liked it.
And
Project Proactive.
And Project Proactive.
At Project Proactive.
Another one of my clients that we didn't end up talking so much about, but I do think it's worth checking out, Margaret's Legacy.
Oh yes.
Because, like, I'm not going to speak about all my clients, but that one in particular I think is very special, because we do curriculum development for Holocaust education, and it's not just the Jewish community. It's you know, we're pushing boundaries in the public systems and even the Catholic system.
Wow.
And I think that that's really, really important, because we, especially in today's day and age, with all of the hostility and animosity that's going around, it's really important to build bridges and to really understand each other. Like, I was privileged to attend with Margaret's Legacy a peace medal breakfast for the YMCA, and it was it was actually very inspiring to see, like, there were, besides for the phenomenal keynote speaker, there are so many people who really want goodness for the world in every culture and in every religion. And we end up kind of fighting with them, and we end up kind of thinking that they hate us, so we hate them. But that's not really going to take us anywhere good. So to be able to spend time with the best of the best of all the different cultures and religions, and really come to the table and realize that we're really trying to work on the same thing,
coming together, all for the
humanity. So that's actually a really special project that I'm also working on. So I did want to mention that, because I think that that's that's one of my.
Wow, thank you so much for bringing that up. So guys, check out Rebecca and the work that she does on jproactive.com. That's where you can see all the Mental Health Mondays, blogs, articles, your Instagram page, and just educate yourselves. And
you could join also if anybody is a blogger, whether you're a mental health professional or just somebody who really likes to blog about proactive stuff. And so reach out, and you could send us, our email address is on the website also. You could send us some samples of your writing, or even if you have YouTube videos that you think would benefit the community. We have playlists on our YouTube channel that we kind of pool in different themes. We're building resource pages for different types. It's taking a long time, because obviously we've been volunteering and we don't really have so much time. So, but we have had people volunteer to help develop our resource pages. So Alana Dress from Chicago offered to develop our perinatal page, and different people are volunteering to develop different parts of our website. So we're really trying to build community around it. And also a few people, we have teenage ambassadors that one of them was really helpful in designing swag and getting
Yeah, I saw that.
apparel going. And then also she helped with we have a spreadsheet that can easily be updated on our website of resources that could benefit the Jewish community.
Wow.
And you can sort it um, by country or by
Type of organization, what you need, or
what you need, what you're looking for. So you could do a search there. So if anyone wants to contribute to that, you could email us too, but we just need all the information.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Wow, wow, wow. Guys, you got to check out this website. This is incredible. Before you go and click on your shopping in your Amazon, I feel like jproactive.com needs to be on everybody's like favorite, on their internet browser, because
Aw.
mental health, which is also our physical health, is super, super important. Rebecca, thank you so much again for coming on here, sharing your values and your project about everything you're doing for the Jewish community and the world at large. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
we'll be
really
talking
appreciate
soon.
being here.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.